we are going to be reviewing the film Nomadland. This film is about a woman who, in the midst of the Great Recession, she ventures across the American West as a van-dwelling nomad. The film was directed by Chloe Zhao and stars Frances McDormand. Now, the reason why we're reviewing it now because it had been making the film festival circuit in 2020, and I guess having limited theatrical releases here and there. Of course, we have not gotten a chance to see it because we're not big enough to get just press for film festivals, and obviously they're not opening up those venues for everybody, and the showings in theaters were very limited for a while. So, Darius, what did you think of this movie?
I will say my favorite part of the film was honestly
no spoilers.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm definitely not going to spoil.
For some reason, like I thought, I'm like, is he gonna spoil it right now? We haven't done that in a while, so I don't know why. I don't know why I thought that. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, yeah. I mean, my favorite part, honestly, was actually the score, which I didn't think I would love as much because there are times when during this movie I would actually close my eyes, and the score just helped sell what was going on. Like I already knew, like they definitely set up the world and her struggle in the beginning. And then from time to time, I would just close my eyes and listen to the music, and I'm like, "Oh, this is godly." And I would imagine where that scene is, and I happen to open my eyes, and I'm like, "Wow, that is weird. I actually thought of this."
But so, no, honestly, yeah, the score was really nice. And if I had to use one word to describe this entire film overall, it would be authentic. It was authentic in every way, shape, and form, from the characters to the emotions to how the story moves to the dialogue. There are a lot of emotional moments in this film, but they're not like flashy emotional moments. They're not flashy emotional moments, and they kind of sneak up on you. There usually isn't so much build-up to them, and that's what makes this feel more lifelike than anything. It makes it feel all the more human, yet somehow cinematic. It's like a lot of times there are cinematic movies that are trying to be cinematic, and like of course it works anyway, but there are movies that aren't so obvious that it's trying to be cinematic, and this is one of them, and it works so well.
Yeah, truly. Like this movie definitely had a authenticity to it and a realism that you believe because and I think a mixture of it also goes to some of the setting and even some of the color palette that they went with, which I thought was just absolutely masterful. And so overall, for me, the main character, she absolutely nailed it. Definitely felt her emotions and felt her going through stuff, even when they didn't explicitly say it. You can see it, you can feel it, you can hear it, and I very much appreciated that. And so, there are times when I did feel that it did drag a bit much, mainly because I thought this movie was longer, to a certain degree. And so when I got to the end, I was like, wow, this was a shorter movie than I thought. Which, again, that took me by surprise just because of how much time they spent with the character and seeing all of the supporting cast and just how she was growing in general. And there are a couple scenes that I really liked where she was very hesitant and resistant. And then you see the end and I was like, that is great. I like that. So now it's like, it opens your mind to where she could possibly be going, and I like that type of ending as well.
Yeah, it's ambiguous in a way too. Like it's not really like you don't have like too many concrete questions, but it still gets your mind wondering as far as like, okay, what's next for her? As far as the character herself, or really just the characters overall, and I guess at the forefront, the main character Fern, played by Frances McDormand, who's absolutely terrific. The characters and all. Here's the thing. Like I said, they're not flashy. Like, the movie overall isn't very flashy. Like, they're ordinary in the best way possible. And once again, this adds to that overall authentic feel. These conversations that these people have, once again, the dialogue makes it the dialogue and just how they talk to each other. Very authentic feel. And as far as, like, the color palette that they use, like, I'm writing a road trip feature of myself. And the aesthetic that this film uses, that's exactly what I had in mind for the film that I'm writing. This movie is absolutely gorgeous to look
at.
Like
weird,
the American landscape.
I was like, this color palette would be great for your feature that you're writing.
Yeah, honestly. And like, here's the thing. The American West, the American landscape is one of the stars of the movie if you really think about it. Because it pulls you in that much more. But once again, I don't feel like it's trying too hard to do so. Like, it all feels very natural. It's cinematic. The entire movie overall is cinematic, but in a very low-key way.
Very much so. Like this movie, not just that, but also like especially when I say authenticity, I mean not just authentic, but also this is very much like you wouldn't think they're acting at all. Like
Yeah,
that's
honestly,
why
I forgot they were acting.
the dialogue, the interactions all felt so organic, so fluid that to the point I was like, are they actually just talking to each other?
Yeah, like it almost had. Here's the thing: the camera movement, of course, was very smooth. But other than that, because like when it comes to documentaries, because this movie did kind of have that documentary fly on the wall feel. Like documentaries, of course, a lot of times have shakier footage when they're filming like B-roll and stuff like that. This movie, of course, had very smooth camera movements, but just like the overall feeling of the movie felt like you were in the room. You were in the room. You were driving behind the van that she's driving. You were, you're just there. You feel like you're actually there yourself. This movie has it manages to feel both epic and intimate. And once again, that's one of the feelings, that's one of the vibes that I'm trying to go for with the road trip feature that I'm writing. And when a movie can accomplish that, like I think that's really a thing of beauty. Because like usually epic and intimate, like they tend to be opposites. Like you don't usually think of them going hand in hand, but when they do and they find a way to make them go hand in hand, like I think that's really something special. And this movie absolutely did that.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I think one of the biggest issues I had for me personally was just some, not entirely, some of the pacing, because at times either it felt rushed or it felt too slow, and there were times where I was like, okay, I get it, can we move on a bit more or whatever. But at the same time, even as I'm thinking that, a performance comes up or a moment, I'm just like, oh, never mind.
It's like, oh shit,
just keep going.
Never mind.
I don't care
and again,
now.
that's the thing too. These moments sneak up on you, like I said, like in life itself. These moments, these emotional moments out of nowhere that they kind of swell, but they're not like flashy. They're not over the top. They sneak up on you because in life, there's no build up to these sort of things a lot of times too.
Yeah,
like they kind of just happen at the moments where you least expect it. And as far as the pacing, I could understand where you're coming from as far as it feeling a little slow here and there, but to counter that, I think it was one of those movies that kind of had to feel kind of slow because your journey has to feel like a journey. Again, this is another movie that if this felt too quickly, then it wouldn't have had the same impact. But yeah, I am happy that I watched this by myself for that reason. Like with Mortal Kombat, with like what we were just saying, like that's a movie I need to see with other people. Like that's a movie that you just watch for the guys or whoever. This one, I'm happy I watched by myself because I would have been worried, like, oh, is everyone else enjoying this? Oh, is this a little too slow for them or whatnot? So I'm happy I watched this by myself.
Yeah, same here. Like the thing is, like there was a moment where that I was liking the movie, but I didn't quite get it, and then I paused it and I thought of the title and I thought of the movie, and I'm like, you know what? Never mind. I'm gonna go back in with this mentality perspective now, because like she is a nomad essentially. Like
yeah, and it has to feel like you're walking with a nomad.
Exactly. She is alone. She's by herself. She's going from multiple different things job to job. It's a very organic and emotionally intriguing film because of these moments that sneak up on you. And like you said, Joe, those moments, like I said, for me, at times I was like, okay, it could be fat, and then all of a sudden it happens. I'm like, never. You know what? Like I said, overall, there's still some moments that the pacing did feel a bit off, but I can gladly just be like, I could take that off because overall, this was one of the most human stories I've ever watched, and that's really the key thing. It was one of the most human stories because it very much felt like real life to a certain extent, where you have struggles, you have this. Oh, hey, money's involved. You gotta have money.
And even though it's like a modern historical landscape that this is set across too, and I think they play with that very well. It's not really thrown in your face, but you're aware of the fact that it's a part of the story. Again, this is against the backdrop of the Great Recession, and it just pulls you in that much more. And once again, it pulls you in. It's very effective at pulling you in, but it's not obvious that it's trying so hard to pull you in, which I love.
Exactly.
It's not begging for your attention.
For sure. And this movie, I really enjoyed it overall.
I loved it.
I felt at peace because of the score. Like I said, the score was absolutely phenomenal. That at times I will close my eyes and just listen to the music, and it's like that already drives me further into the story. And so, like overall, I absolutely really enjoyed this movie. Really liked how organic and human it felt compared to a lot of other films that are out there that are very fantastical in their nature, that have human elements, but overall more fantastical than anything else. So for this movie, this definitely help even me ground myself a bit more in reality, and just overall, just a great experience, peaceful. Uh, definitely, I would say definitely watch this on your own, for
Yes.
sure, not with other people.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny that you say that this movie's so human in the midst of so many movies out there that are just more fantastical than anything. The director of this film, Chloe Zhao, she is actually directing Eternals in the Marvel Cinematic
I
Universe.
thought I recognized that name, the director's
Yep.
name, for some reason.
And here's the thing, if she
Interesting.
really knocked it out of the park with this movie, as far as Eternals, bring it on. I can't wait. Now I
Yeah,
really can't
now
wait
I'm
for that
even
one.
more intrigued with Eternals now. If
Yeah.
because I forget, because as I was going through the Hulu, and I saw the casting and director, I was like, that name looks familiar, but I didn't bother looking it up yet. So I was just like, I'm just gonna watch it. And now that you bring it up, I was like, oh. But here's the thing, like from a director's point of view for this, it was very. She did a great job directing it. It was the
Absolutely.
thing that made this feel human and organic as well was really the writing, and
Yeah.
that's where this movie excels in exceptionally. Like it's just near flawless, really. Like I said, this is a very human story. This is a very human, organic, grounded movie that everything didn't look or feel as if they were acting. It was just feeling as if they were capturing someone going through struggles, and we're just seeing it in all its glory. So with that, and Chloe, she did a great job encapsulating that as a director for sure.
Hmm.
But again, if you're saying okay, she's doing Eternals, who's the writers on Eternals? That I don't know yet.
I don't
That I
know
still
either.
have to
I
look
don't
up.
know. But like, of course, like
'Cause-
as we know, like the director has like such a big influence to the creative vision for the film. So
for
the
sure.
fact that someone like her is obviously very talented. I haven't seen any of the other movies that she's done, but based on this, she's obviously capable of amazing things.
Yep.
So let's
For
see what
sure.
happens when she's given something like a Marvel film to helm. Like I'm excited now, to say the least. We haven't really seen much from Eternals, but
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Like this is the first Marvel Cinematic Universe film that I'm not going to be really looking forward to in a long time. Like not like to say like I'm completely lukewarm or anything. Like I don't care about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like
Mhm.
I'm always interested for sure. But like now for this one, considering what Chloe Zhao can obviously do, I'm very excited for Eternals.
For sure. And I mean, just to piggyback off of what you were saying with the whole fantastical elements, that's one of the things I do have to give. And obviously, I think we're pretty much over with talking about Nomadland. But I think in general, going forward with films, if you can bring that fantastical element, like a Marvel movie or Star Wars, but still truly hone in on those human elements to
Hmm.
to where it feels like it's just an organic conversation and debate, that's gonna excel so much further. And I think Marvel has almost pretty much nailed on that to a certain extent now, actually, because they've been bringing in people like Ryan Coogler, these up and comers, these people that have already made grounded, organic human stories in the beginning, and they're just like, hey, bring that talent, but to our Marvel property. So, and and you can see Marvel's on that trend lately. So it's gonna be interesting. But again, going back to Nomadland, this movie overall, I loved it.
Loved it.
10 out of 10 for
I
me.
absolutely adored this film. This might have been my favorite. It's this against One Night in Miami for my favorite movie of
Ooh.
last year. It's really tough, but I'm
Yeah, that's
curious
tough.
to. Yeah, it's really tough. Like, and again, both of them are going to be going head to head when it comes to the Oscars and everything. If either one wins, one of those two movies has to be the big winner overall, and either one will be very deserving, I think.
For sure. If I had to skew towards one, probably Nomadland, just because it felt more complete and more wholesome and even more organic, especially with the
Yeah.
music, because that's really what sold it for me as well. It was that music that drove it home, and like the story, the directing, the cinematography was
The
already like a
acting,
10 out of 10,
everything.
and then that score just went to like 20 out of 20. Like it just elevated it so much further. Like I said,
Yeah.
I will gladly talk about this score over and over again.
It was really calming. It was really peaceful. And for any of you who got the chance to watch Nomadland, either miraculously at the film festivals or whatever events, if you managed to find a showing for it in the theaters, or if you watched it on Hulu like we did, what did you guys think? I really want to know exactly what it is that you saw or that you thought about Nomadland, because obviously we had a lot to say, and I have a feeling that you have a lot to say too. So type your mind in that comment section below.